And here we go from the national headquarters of RT America, our nation's capital. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. So let's do this. Yesterday, we led this newscast with the story of how Huawei is getting a beatdown from the Trump administration sanctions, and more to the point, the president's executive order, which says that no American can now even buy a Huawei phone, no less do business with Huawei. Well, that prompted Google to tell Huawei that they can no longer use its intellectual properties, its hardware, its software, all the Google apps, the Play Store, the Android updates, essentially what makes a phone, right? So if they have to try and sell phones without Gmail, without YouTube, without Google Maps, nobody's going to buy them. So how are they going to survive in 90 days when this thing goes into effect, this punishment from Google? They're going to be hurting. But business is business, right? It's about survival of the fittest, right? It's about the bottom line, right? It's about sink or swim. Nobody gets a handout, and certainly the Chinese government should not step in and help them or bail them out. And if they do, it only proves that they're not a free and fair market economy. They're like socialists or something. Well, let's think about that for a minute. In fact, let me give you some data. So U.S. banks were pretty much the same as in the condition that Huawei is in right now. Back in 2008, they got bailed out by the government of the United States of America. In other words, you and I paid taxes so that our money could be used to prop up those banks. How much, by the way? How much do you think it was? $83 billion a year. Guaranteed subsidy, thanks to the bailout of 2008. By the way, you know how big a part of that money is spent? It's used to pay the bonuses for Wall Street guys. $31 billion worth of bonuses from money that they take from me and you. You want a more recent example? Here, I'll give you one. General Motors. They got some help from the Trump administration recently. It got $600 million in federal contracts. That's business they don't have to look for. Here you go. Automatic business. $500 million in tax breaks. Compliments again of Uncle Sam. And you know how much their CEO got of that? $22 million. Now, shall we return to the Huawei argument? Will they fail, or will they be too big to fail? And if they fail, will the Chinese government prop them up? Here's a better question. Are we really in any position to criticize them and accuse them of market manipulation or worse, of being socialists? If they do, isn't that what we did? It's the news with Rick Sanchez, where we believe it is time to do news again, actually. Okay. Let's do this. We're going to begin tonight with a question about what China will do and how it will affect you. My old friend and colleague Bart Chilton always used to say something about China. He says that China makes decisions for tomorrow, for the long term, and they don't show their hand. We, on the other hand, make decisions for today, short-term political expediency, and we tend to brag about it while we're doing it. Well, if that's the case, will Xi Jinping wait Trump out for the next 2 years while U.S. companies possibly suffer the consequences? And in the process, will they bail Huawei out? Will China step in and bail China out? Well, it's the same way that we bailed out many companies here. Joining us now is Christy I, who you see on the air hosting Boom Bust, and she's good enough to join us. So how about it? First of all, let's go to the Huawei getting bailed out issue. Mm-hmm. Will Huawei get bailed out, you think?
They are the largest telecom equipment provider in the world right now. So if you take that into respect, they are in fact too big to fail. They are the second largest phone maker in the world. So those are just staggering numbers to begin with. And in retrospect, right now, all the banks, they were privately owned, and they got bailed out by a government.
Right. Ours, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huawei, instead, it's state-owned, state-run, state-backed. So, in fact, the government is merely funding its own company. So it's not really a bailout.
But you know, it's using terms differently. But in the end,
exactly.
If I hear people all the time say, well, that's not fair because, you know, we have true capitalism and our companies have to sink and swim on their own and nobody's going to give them a free ride. Yes, we did.
Yeah,
We're giving companies, left and right a free ride, right?
You're subsidizing Boeing, too, as well, the U.S.
So that makes it a little bit more difficult in that sense. Let me ask you something about what's going on right now with China. I'm wondering if Xi Jinping would be smart or might he wait it out for 2 years and possibly then hope that the economy of the United States has affected Trump's candidacy so he can't be elected president, and then he'll deal with the next person who comes around?
I think that probably is his plan, because China's main strategy is it plays the long game. So as he said today, that China should prepare for the long march. He's referring back to 1934, the communists, when the Red Army actually retreated for one whole year. They strategically retreated for 1 year, marched 9,000 kilometers all throughout China in order to outflank the KMT army. So that's what they did, to retreat for 1 whole year. So that's why they're not afraid to play the long game. And in the meantime, China is saying that they have other tactics to try to outweigh and outcompete.
What? Like what? What could they do that could truly affect our tech market that we don't know about?
Well, President Xi Jinping was actually in Jiangxi today, and he had a very public appearance at a rare earth minerals mine. And this was a very public appearance. There was photos, and he wanted it to be publicized. Why? So that U.S. can see that they are in fact dependent on China's supply of rare earth minerals. China accounts for 90% of all exports in the world. U.S. consumes 80% of all of China's imports.
Would you mind just stopping and explaining to our viewers what rare earth minerals are and why they're an important component of our tech industry?
They are essentially minerals that are used in all the electronics that you see, ranging from telecom to solar to wind power to your Tesla car and your mobile device, computers. It powers everything.
Wow.
So essentially what China's saying, that you are dependent on these rare earth mineral exports. So if we decide to cut those exports to you, your tech industry will hurt.
Wow.
A lot.
Hurt a lot, yeah.
It can stagnate development.
So yes, they'll probably bail out Huawei, even though you say it's unfair to use the term bailout. And two, they're probably going to play the long game and do what they can to wait out Donald Trump while affecting his economy. And
Exactly.
I say his economy in political terms because it's all of our economies, right? I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.